Let me take a look.
It's
Since I'm
something
already on IMDb. God dang, that was 2007? That feels a little
Yeah.
bit newer than that. Yeah,
It does feel
James
newer.
Mangold.
Yeah.
And he did, well, he's done not a lot of stuff, but some big stuff. He did Ford v Ferrari. He did Logan. He did the Wolverine. He did Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz.
Yeah. That's a movie.
Oh, and I didn't know that. He's doing Indiana Jones 5.
There's a fourth? Did not know.
Yeah, we keep that one in the fridge.
I don't like Indiana Jones. Have we talked about this?
No, we haven't.
I just don't. I don't like that type of movie and game. Like the Uncharted games, I never cared for. Indiana Jones. It's just I'm not
Like adventure films.
Armor of God wasn't really like me as much as the stunts and everything are cool, but like just like going into
what are the similarities between Indiana Jones and Armor of not Armor
Jungle? There's a temple.
Okay,
I don't like it. Not my.
One thing I think we do need to bring up at the top of the show here, Maximus says, been enjoying the uploads of streams as podcasts. Really helps for when I can't watch live. I wanted to throw out for everybody that finally Discovering Cinema is listed as a podcast everywhere that you can get your podcast. So Spotify, Google, Apple, Overcast, everything. If you want to listen to Discovering Cinema throughout the week and maybe you missed something, you want to go back to a discussion, everything is here. And I have been archiving all of our discussions since December. So we are already up through like 20 episodes on there, even though it just launched. It is available and ready to follow. Subscribe now. And it's good stuff. It sounds pretty decent considering the way that we record this.
Yes. And also, me and Food for Thought have a podcast called Talking Swords. Bi-weekly, we will have a new episode up on Fu. We'll have a new episode up on Tuesday talking about Yojimbo. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I keep having an idea. I'm like, I'm going to record some video. And then I'm like, I'll just watch a movie. I just get sidetracked. Did I watch anything else of importance this week? I rewatched High Plains Drifter. Still my favorite. I think my favorite Clint Eastwood movie outside of the Dollars trilogy. So good. So good. And rewatched the Japanese remake again of Unforgiven. Better than the American one. Got Ken Watanabe as the lead.
Cool.
Speaking of Ken, we're on episode 4 of Tokyo Vice. And it's so good. Ansel Elgort's actually charming in this show.
I've heard that is the thing that is making people finally understand him as a person.
He is very good in this show. I can't wait to see how they wrap it up because I don't know if have you watched it at all? The opening sequence is what I'm assuming is the end because then they like rewind, and I want to know how they get into that really tense moment. Because it's pretty intense.
Sardis says, "Hey Flip, I just finished The Shield. Thanks for the rec." So he's thanking you for the recommendation. Starting the Godfather of Harlem binge now.
Hey, Godfather of Harlem rocks.
It's the transitive property of art. I love that. Skolder's here. What's going on? Jeff is here. Dustin's here. Eric's here. What's going on, Dave? Dustin says, I watched The Battle Wizard today, and it was fucking awesome. I don't know that I've heard that title before. Oh, jeez. That doesn't even sound like a Shaw Brothers title. What the hell is it?
It's a bonkers movie.
Huh.
Bad shit. If it's the right movie I'm thinking of. There is a movie that they did called The Battle. No. It's like, I think 73. Google that. I just want to see if that's right.
Newer in terms of Shaw Brothers is what I meant.
No. It got a DVD release, I think, from Welgo back in the day under their Swords and Master line.
The Battle Wizard is 77.
So a little later than what I was thinking. But do you have buy-in? Yes. Sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Says, Flip, do you have buy-in The Assassin with Ken Watanabe? Yes, I do. It's a great little mini-series. I'm actually staring right at it right now. Awesome. Tokyo Shock.
Wanted to throw out, Lissa says, just watch the Why Do You Collect live stream that you and I did yesterday. It was good, if somewhat awkward. I don't really think it was awkward. to be honest, I think it was perhaps awkward for a moment when Aaron was in the chat and not in the conversation. But once he joined and everybody could understand that it was just being talked out, I think it was fine. Yeah, it's a good video though, and I think more people should watch it.
When he joined, I should have been like, "You're fucking wrong, Aaron. Fucking asshole." No, I'm just kidding. I love him. But yeah, you should watch Battle Wizard. It's crazy, dude.
And there's no blue for it yet, right?
No, and I don't think that's ever gonna get a blue. That's one of those movies where I'm like, I don't think it's gonna get.
The synopsis on IMDb, it says a bookish young man and his sword-loving sister find themselves battling a trio of villains. One of them a beautiful but masked woman who has promised to either marry or murder the first man to see her unmasked.
Hey, isn't that just how marriage goes? Your wife tries to murder you slowly.
Yep.
We got our good friend John Stump in here.
He says he just watched Michael Haneke's Amour. I've always wanted to know if I'm saying his last name right. Is it Haneke? Anyways, so please make this stream funny for my mental state, please. We will do our best to make it funny. And I love, let's see, Maximus said he got the shipping notice for his Vinegar Syndrome, and so did Sardis. I'm a sub and I haven't got anything. I got notice that like a shirt shipped from Connecticut. Nothing from Denver yet.
Well, that's because you're a sub. I'm a dom. So we have our rules.
But I'm a sub top and a power bottom.
Oh, Jesus,
these are words, right?
So power bottom, is that does that just mean you back into it? You're like, yeah.
No, it means you take it, but you're lifting weights while you do it.
Well, I'm a very strong power bottom.
I know nothing about those terms.
So I had a funny incident happen at the start of the week of the gym. My max right now is 400 pounds on the bench, and I was like, and that's for one rep. And I go,
mine is 400 pounds on the bench too when I'm sitting on it.
and I go, I think I could probably do 410. And, 10-pound difference isn't that much. So I put 5-pound weights on each side, and it fell. I could not get it back up. I was on my sternum for like maybe 3 minutes while I was trying to like get off. And I finally rocked it, and then had to like get out from underneath it and then just drop it. It was not good, but my whole body has ached every day since.
When something is called a max, it's a max for a reason.
Well, so when I was before I met Taylor and I was taking performance enhancing supplements, my max was 455. So I've always been trying to get there, but I'm completely natural. I'm not taking anything. No, I'm not even drinking protein. I'm just
energy drinks.
Yeah, I'm having one today, so if I'm a little manic, that's why I'm coked out. But yeah, it was. I do not recommend that. And then I went down a rabbit hole of watching videos of people's biceps getting torn while they're lifting out, and yeah, because I'm curling 100 pounds, and I can feel tension. Like you're supposed to feel tension, but now I'm like, I don't want to ever work out.
There was a video posted somewhere, and it had, this was just in the last couple of days, and it had a really misleading title. I don't remember what it was, but it was something about protein, and I didn't think it was going to be something like injury-wise. And it was a guy that was standing in one of, I don't know the machine, because as you can tell, I'm not a gym rat. I have bitch tits. It was one of those machines that looks like the curling machine, where it has the weight on your upper arm, and you're able to flex up against it, but he was using it on his legs. So he had his feet up against it, and there was a bar behind his knees, and he was holding a disc up against his chest and bending backwards. And he went up to the next size, and it was a 45, and he bent, and right about halfway down, his ACL tore, and he fell all the way. I can't fathom why you would think that would be a good idea, ever.
Yes. Yes, but
I love how that's all you say. Yes.
Yes, it's just one. Do you want to get into pickups?
Oh, I forgot we do that. Yeah, go ahead. You go first.
It's in the car, but I got the 2 new crime movies from Arrow.
I know what I can share.
What's that called? Cops and Drug Busters,
Racketeers and Robbers.
Racketeers, yeah, something like that. Got a dumb name for a box set. Just
It sounds great to me.
the two movies are great. I love those movies. But I also picked up this is Bohachi Bushido #2. This is the villain. This version's called Samurai Way of the Bohachi. It's the sequel to Bohachi Bushido, which I talked about, I think, last week. One of the best exploitation films I've ever seen. It's 80 minutes flat. 100 people died in that movie. Directed by Taro Ishii. This one is not directed by Taro Ishii. It's still very bloody, very violent, though. Then I got Hideo Gosha, which we'll talk about Hideo Gosha tonight. Death Shadows. Really awesome movie. And then Tomosaburō Wakayama. I've talked about him a lot. He's Ogami Ito. He started in the Bounty Hunter trilogy, which I would describe as I lift weights when I pee. That's yeah. Luckily, see, I lift weight because I'm overcompensating. So, but he started a trilogy of movies called the Bounty Hunter trilogy, and they're like James Bond, but with samurais. Like he's always got gadgets. There was a short-lived 12-episode TV show, so got that. Very excited. And then the great Study Chiba. I love Shadow Warriors. Got the rest of
Jesus.
on DVD from
How many discs
Samurai.
are each of those?
Let me see here, because this is
Those are thick boys.
this is I don't know. 13 discs in volume 2.
Jeez.
Volume 3 is 8 discs. Volume 4 is 9, and then volume 5 is 5. So the series
discs. Jeez.
Yeah, so it's 26 episodes for season 1, 26 for season 2, 26 for season 3, 27 for season 4, and then season 5 is 13. So if you guys have not seen any of these, I'm sure a lot of you guys, especially the older people in the chat, know what Shadow Warrior is. Sonny Chiba played Hattori Hanzo, which is what Quentin Tarantino casted him as in Kill Bill. So he was reprising that role, so to speak. But it's a really fun, action-packed series. The thing that I really like about it is that Sonny Chiba was part of this thing called the Japan Action Club. The only ways I lift is when I put on a bra.
Me too.
My wife
Sardis says Flip buys film by the linear foot.
Yeah. But yeah, Samurai DVD. They're awesome. Doing the Lord's work out there. So
My lone pickup for the week that I'm going to share on here is I got from Germany The Sadness 4K from Cape Light.
After you talked about this, I watched the trailer. I want to see it so bad.
They are describing this as 28 days later and a whole lot of gore, basically. So it's a zombie movie, I believe, from South Korea. I think it's Korean. Something like that. And this is the inner art. Look
Japanese.
at this. It might be Japanese. It is just a road littered with bodies. And the entire steelbook looks really damn good. And this came shockingly fast. Like, shipped from Germany last Thursday. And it arrived on Tuesday.
It's Taiwanese. So.
Taiwanese, got it. I thought it was Korean, but that makes sense.
You can't tell Asians apart.
No, they all look the same. He says, how did I get it so quick? I've had this pre-ordered for a couple months. That could be why. What was that, a flip joke? Is that
it feels so weird when someone else says stuff. Because I feel the awkwardness that you would feel.
Yeah, as soon as that was available to order, I pre-ordered it. That could be one of the reasons why I got a little faster. I've seen nothing but great reviews, and Eric here says, Diabolic DVD said, a word of warning that it is the grossest and most unpleasant film I've seen in a bit. It is supposed to be, like, shockingly gory, and I can't wait to watch it.
Speaking of unpleasant, have you seen the movie Brimstone with Guy Pearce?
Brimstone. I don't.
The
I might have to
West.
look that up.
I
I
finished a
don't.
Screen Drafts episode, and Billy Ray Bruben was going to
Bruton.
put it on there, and everyone's like, "That movie's disgusting," and it is.
Huh. I'll have to look it up right now.
And shit. It's weird. I don't know how I feel about it, but I don't know how that guy can go, "Oh, Bone Tomahawk's disgusting," but then suggest a movie that's literally insane. So, hey,
I get it. Any
Bone Tomahawk.
other pickups from us? No.
I picked up Subway tonight. It was good.
What do
you get from Subway?
I don't. I have not eaten at Subway literally in about 8 years.
Dude, I walked in the Subway and they're playing full on fucking Bollywood musical. It's just like just like that, like loud as fuck. And it was a young Indian teenager. And I go, "What are you listening to?" And he gets a little embarrassed and he was like, "Oh, this is my music." And I was like, "Dude, it fucking rocks. Like, this is awesome." And then he like lit up. He was so happy. He was like, "You really like this?" I was like, "Dude, this is awesome. I want this."
People listening to this in podcast form just had their ears exploded.
Dude, I love Indian music.
It is. I mean, it's at least exhilarating, and honestly, Indian cinema's freaking great. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Okay, whoa! Use the word great.
Yes, as an entertainment value, it is great.
Okay.
You have to suspend all disbelief for even like a normal conversation, but it is great.
Bollywood is awesome. It's like if Steven Seagal's brain was a complete industry.
I don't remember the title of it, but there is an Indian TV show that was modeled after Parks and Rec, and it was so funny. I binge watched that entire thing and loved it.
Dude, Indian people are so. Yeah, at least the ones around here. They're so nice. I just want to go like this to all of them because this is how they say yes. I just want to do like this. I'm like whenever I'm ordering with them and they ask me a question, I always go to like show them that like I respect their culture, and I asked them, "How do I say thank you?" And I think it's Telugu is what he said he spoke, and he told me I can't remember, but I told him that, and he was so happy. It was a nice little exchange. It's better than my culture where it's like, "Hey," you know. So
it's also better than my Indian culture, films, which just means I own your country.
Imperialism. Stardust says most Indian films are 2.5 hours long. So are most MCU films. So,
I mean, it's really odd to me that most cinema is leaning towards longer and longer films.
I don't like it, man.
A few years ago, it was let's make them shorter so we can get more butts and seats throughout the day. But now it's we gotta like entice people to come to the theater, so let's make it 3 hours long. I hate that.
I think. Well, first off, Sindal, yes, I do. Sindal says, "Flip, do you like Hiroyuki Sanada's 80s samurai / action stuff?" I'm a huge Hiroyuki Sanada. Ninja the Dragon's Den is a classic. I think today's directors are just a bunch of pussies, man. You go to anyone's film, like anyone's directorial credits, like 85 before, it's like 50 films in like 5 years, and it's like, Quentin Tarantino's on his 10th film in 30 years. What a pussy. What a loser.
I don't know that I would put the word pussy on it.
I'm joking.
Okay, I understand though too, but there are also a lot of indie directors that are pumping out more than some of these big directors, and that's where I find some of the most respect. Yeah, and when I say indie, I'm not talking like A24 directors. I'm talking like
because I was about to say
we'll never see a showing in a theater indie director. I love a lot of that shit.
I don't know. I feel like movies now. I feel like the industry is just so. Like I read that Roger Eggers. Or
Robert.
Is it Eggers?
Robert Eggers.
The Northman, he didn't get final cut. The studio did. And they cut a bunch of what he wanted out of the movie. It's supposed to be weirder.
Hopefully
apparently it's still great. In. Still a great movie. But that makes me sad because you have a director who is very talented. He finally gets some money. Willing to go there. He finally gets some money. back behind them, and they take control. Mika is a badass. I would agree with that as well.
And I would agree with Eric, who says a lot of my all-time faves are super long, but nowadays I often choose things less than 90 minutes. I have found myself, I use the Blu-ray.com app to hold all my physical media so I know what I own. And I go in there and I get my whole collection and sort by runtime. And then when I look at things that are 100 minutes or less, I just like, what am I in the mood for? And then choose it based on runtime.
So when I see a new movie, like tonight, we're going to watch Batman, and it's 3 hours long, and I'm like kind of dreading 3 hours. But when I'm watching movies that are older, because I mostly watch older movies, I'm always looking for, and most of them are like 80 minutes, 90 minutes. I will actively not watch a new movie if it's long, but if I see an older movie from a director that I really respect, and I go, oh shit, this is a 2.5 hour movie from 1960, I'm going to see what this is about. You know, one director that we'll talk about tonight, my number one director, most of his movies are hour and a half, except for his last movie is a 2.5 hour movie. And I was so intrigued to watch it because I was like, I want to see what he does with an extra hour, with that extra runtime.
A lot of those movies back then, if it was going to be that long, they had to not, I was going to say the word justify, but that almost doesn't hold enough weight. Like, they had to really show that they needed another hour and get the studio to pony up the money for that sort of thing, because a lot of times they wanted just stuff that was 80 to 100 minutes at most.
I've been going through that Kino Lorber Western collections. A lot of them are bad.
Yep.
Bad movies. And all of them are pretty short, but they feel so fucking long. I watched The Virginian today.
We've talked about this before with a lot of Westerns. That second act is just drags and drags and drags.
And I mean, that's probably why people like John Wayne stick out, is because at that time, there only were a handful of really charismatic actors.
Right.
I watched 2 Westerns this week starring Burt Lancaster. Valdez is coming, and Vera Cruz. And Valdez was boring, except for Burt. He's just so charismatic. Then Vera Cruz was awesome. Gary Cooper. But the standout Western guys stand out because they are so charismatic on screen. You could, Randolph Scott. Most of his movies are just, they're okay. If you really break down the story, it's just generic. They're just cycling through these plots, but he is so fucking in those. And same with John Wayne. I keep wanting to say John Wayne Gacy.
I wish he was in some movies.
I had a chance before I met Taylor to buy one of his artworks.
They come for sale fairly often, and
they're not that bad.
No, like $150.
One of my favorite bands used his Pogo the Clown. Acid Bath. Have you ever heard that band?
I've heard of them, yeah.
They use Pogo. They're so good. Venus Blue is such a good song. I used to sing it when I was like 12. And then you read the lyrics, and it's how much more must we bleed her? I cut their throats while they sleep.
Stendhal says, the last recent movie I saw in theaters that was long but didn't feel like it was Blade Runner 2049. I wish it went on forever. And I got to admit, one of the movies I'm going to talk about tonight, I felt like that in the theater. But also the one you're about to watch with Batman, I knew it was 3 hours going into it, and this might be TMI for a show like this, but I'm sure you guys see it. I drink a shit ton of water. I drink literally like 7 of these a day, and I really expected to have to go to the bathroom like 3 times during that. I never even wanted to stand up because it was so damn good, and I didn't want it to end even after those 3 hours.
Speaking of Blade Runner, without Shaw Brothers, we wouldn't have the original. They funded a lot of that movie. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. We got a couple other good comments.
I was about to highlight that from Lissa.
Studio did the same for Michael Mann. His original cut of The Keep was 3.5 hours. The studio cut it down to an hour. What the fuck? That's a lot.
Well, and they control that movie so much, we still can't even see it. It's not even out on DVD here. It has an Australian DVD, but even then, it's not really great quality. I think that one's even still just a VHS rip. Somebody in the comments might be able to confirm. I never pick that one up. But and that's because I held out hope that we were going to get a U.S. release after that got one. But yeah, The Keep is still looked at as a classic, and when it's 3.5 cut down to not even 1.5, you know it's got to be good stuff.
Michael Mann's getting to do his Ferrari movie that he's been dying to. That's his. I think that was part of the deal with Tokyo Vice. He produces that show and he gets to make his dream.
Nice.
So we really need these tour directors like Michael Mann to be able to come back and make up. Because Black Hat was mediocre, but everything prior to that was pretty good. Fu says, I'm aiming to set some time aside this week to watch the assassination of Jesse James. And I'm guessing he means by the coward Robert Ford.
Oh, yeah, of course.
God, that movie is.
So I have. I wasn't going to say anything, but with this comment, it's too perfect not to. I have scheduled my first watch of this, and I'm going to watch this live.
Can we do a podcast together about it?
I'm going to watch this live with Jeremy Long at the New Bev on 35mm.
Oh my God. We need to do an episode after that.
Yep.
And talk about it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Just Brad Pitt's performance is just incredible. The ending is so good. And then Andrew Dominic came out this week and said that there's like a 4-hour cut of the movie.
Yeah, more footage that we don't have.
Which, I don't know have you guys read the book that's based off of?
I have not, no.
The book has a lot of really good contextual stuff. Like there's a scene where Robert Ford visits Jesse James' grave at the end, and I think that's what they probably filmed because it's a really good scene. But man, that's such a good fucking movie. So good. Roger Deakins' best work ever. And even if you don't want to watch was it like a 3-hour movie?
Yeah, I think it's just over 3.
It's so beautiful to look at that you're not going to get bored. It's beautiful. Nerd says he just finished The Kingsman. Fight choreography was pretty good. The knife fight scene with the Germans at night was good.
I still have not seen the third one, and I still can't remember if I've seen the second one. I liked the first one enough, but I'm still like, they made a trilogy out of this, and there supposedly might be more coming.
So Eric says, saw the trailer for Tokyo Vice, looks kind of weak. No, dude, Eric, it is a slow burn, but it's so fucking good. And where things are at now, I am so amped for like the next. I think there's only 4 or 3 episodes. There's like 3 or 4 episodes left. Flip can't read. I read a lot, actually. You would actually be surprised. Yeah, that's all I used to do was read. Me too, Flip. I'd love to see the assassination. Damn, that is an abbreviation. Me too. I'd love to see Tao.
Oh man.
There is. Why does that movie? So apparently, Criterion turned down Andrew Dominic. Why? Get your head out, Criterion. Put out fucking Man Push Cart. You won't put that out. I
also wanted to say, since we're talking about a few of these people saying what they've watched, I love going through Twitter throughout the day and seeing people that are in our streams talking about what they're watching, so that I can know what we're going to talk about next time. You guys pick some good stuff. I love it. That's where I get a lot of the ideas I want to look into.
I think Nerd, besides food, Nerd has, I think, the best taste after. Not just in movies, but in video games, too. He's a big fighting game fan. I'm a huge fighting game. You want to hear a funny story that's could be kind of slightly racist?
No. You want to start with the topic? I'm just kidding.
I was at GameStop for a Dragon Ball FighterZ tournament, and I was the only white person. Everyone else was black. And I go, why do you guys like Dragon Ball? That's what I said to one of the guys. And he was like, shit, man, because it's good as fuck. And I was like, I mean, you're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong.
Dragon Ball, spanning cultures.
Hey, they're actually Dragon Ball Super for the series finale. I believe somewhere in Mexico they had like a big like drive-in theater playing in the episode. Like it's huge. Like Dragon Ball's so big, massive.
I don't know if you've done it, and I think I've talked about it on the show, so I won't go into detail. But watching big episodes for shows that you love and they're premiering live, watching them as part of a theater audience, it makes it so much more special. Like I saw the last episode of Breaking Bad like that, and it made my life, dude. It was such a great night.
I saw Battle of the Bastards. That was, oh man, that Game of Thrones episode.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm assuming that's Game of Thrones. I've still never even seen 2 minutes of Game of Thrones.
Save yourself, because that shit
exactly
sucks at the end.
But now,
prequel?
For Game of Thrones?
Yeah, that's coming out this year.
No, I've never seen any Game of Thrones. I don't care.
Well, it's a prequel. You don't have to go in. You can go in blind. Okay.
Again, I don't love fantasy. That's my big thing. I don't love that type of show. I'm not like I don't even love Lord of the Rings. I had to take multiple watches to even like the original trilogy.
All right.
The silence.
So I'm gonna guess Peter Jackson's not on your list.
No, Peter Jackson is not on my list. However, some of the stuff he did long before Lord of the Rings is fucking incredible, and some of my favorite movies. Dead Alive is amazing.
I think that documentary about World War I was phenomenal. Look at this. Look at this abbreviation. I love it. Yes,
Dendall says I bought a few copies of The Assassination of Jesse James on DVD to give to multiple friends to watch. After I first watched it, that's how much it affected me. That's fantastic. I've done that with a handful of films, and the number, what number are they? My number 3 director, I've done that for a couple of their films specifically.
Just don't go dusting off any pictures. That's just my life. Dendall will get that. Just don't be dusting.
All right.
Do you want to get into it?
I think we should. How about you start with your number 4?
Number 4, by no surprise, the great Chang-Chi. Shaw Brothers, I would say, most prolific director. 90-something movies under his belt. I think 80 of them were with Shaw. I think he is single-handedly the most important director for Hong Kong cinema. If you look at what he's done for Hong Kong cinema, it's just astronomical. So, I've talked about this before. Wuxia films in the 60s prior to One-Armed Swordsman, all women-based, not very bloody, not very graphic. Chang-Chi was like, we need to have movies reflect real life. No one's going to see violence in the streets and then go to a movie and act like everything's fine. They want it, they want real grit. He makes the One-Armed Swordsman, launches Jimmy Wang Yu into international fame, becomes a huge hit, to the point where it seems like Shaw Brothers just lets him do whatever the fuck he wants. He puts out the Return of One-Armed Swordsman. Shortly after that, Jimmy Wang Yu makes the first kung fu film, first martial arts film, and he takes that concept and just, I think, better than any other director of his time, just goes with it. And still, while directing wuxia, like the Brave Archer series, he's doing that alongside all the Venom Mob stuff. But my favorite thing about Chang-Chi is that you can really see where he's at in his career. Like, the different eras of his career are with who he, like, what group of actors or actor that he just takes. I put a poll on my Instagram asking followers thought of Chang-Chi or Lar Kar Long was the better director. I think so my good friend Fanatical Dragon has said Lar Kar Long is the Hong Kong version of Akira Kurosawa. And I can agree with that. I love Lar Kar Long. But Chang-Chi obviously has way more movies than Lar Kar Long. But I always return to Chang-Chi movies. I mean, Five Deadly Venoms, Crippled Avengers.
This is favorite, not better.
Yes. I think objectively, if you want to look at it through a critic's eye, I could say Lar Kar Long is a better director. But for me, I get a lot more enjoyment out of Chang-Chi. All the Venom Mob stuff is just phenomenal. I really think Crippled Avengers is one of, if not the best martial arts movie ever made. It's just an incredible film. He did a couple really solid, like, action movies, just like modern day spy movies. One of my favorite gems of his is this movie called Seven Man Army, and it's a movie about uh, trying to go to war with Japan. But at the end, instead of just having a gunfight, they have a wuxia style bayonet fight in the trenches, and it's fucking incredible to watch. He did Marco Polo as well. Just like Heroes 2, the Brave Archer series, which is a pretty solid series until the last one is absolute trash. Um, but he's a director that even now I own movies of his that I haven't watched yet, and every time I watch something of his, I'm at least having a like. I don't think any other Hong Kong director knows how to film a fight better than Jake. Hands down, he's just incredible. Flag of Iron is such a very. That's the other thing too is that like he'll do so many movies, and you watch something like Flag of Iron. I think it's a perfect example. Where at first glance you're like, oh, that's just really fun action movie. There's a lot of good fights, and they have a very unique weapon. They're using flags. But if you rewatch it again and you pay attention to the story, it's like a very political driven plot line. That's actually pretty deep. I really like him. He's my number 4 favorite. I do think there are 3 directors better than him, but I love him. And then after reading, I don't want to move everything, but I got his memoirs, and after reading his life story and about him, I like him even more. The only thing I don't like about him is that he needs to brush his teeth. And I mean, even the stuff that he did, he did a few things after Shaw. Like it's like weird. Like there was a period where he like wasn't working with Shaw, but he was still living on the studio grounds. Like even up to his death, he lived in an apartment that Shaw Brothers owned. Like they gave him like permanent like residency. But there's a movie that he did called The Nine Demons, and it's like it's got some of the Venomob people in it. I would consider it a Venomob film. It's got enough of them in there to where I'd consider it part of their canon. But it's like a weird horror movie. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. And Fu says Crippled Avengers is perfection. If you watch Crippled Avengers and you don't have fun, you're a piece of shit. That's all I gotta say. That's my number 4.
Awesome. I was
gonna say for these last 4, I think we should give out 3 recommendations, like mandatory view. I would say for Shang Chi, One Armed Swordsman, 5 Deadly Venoms, and Crippled Avengers are 3. Man, actually, you know, Return of the One Armed Swordsman I think is a little bit better than the original, but see, I just love him. I just love him. Oh, and also right here, Fu says Shanghai 13 was the best post-Shaw film. That's the only movie that you'll see Jimmy Wang Yu interacting with anyone from the Venom mob, I believe. So, it's not a very. I don't think it's as good as Nine Demons, Fu, but I think it's a fun movie.
I will say for these last 4 for both of us, I think that they are going to be very on brand. If you followed the channel for a long time, which we only get like 22 followers each week, so we have talked about most of these many times. These are not going to be surprises. I also will throw out that my last 4 are going to feel very mainstream, and the hard part is and I think I talked about this recently, I don't do a lot of rewatching films. And these are the type of directors that I rewatch films from, not even often, but like once or twice a year. I don't rewatch a lot of things. So these are not going... Sardis says, Flip is not a collector or a curator. He's a fanatic. That's hilarious. Yeah, so these are, maybe not going to be in the order that you're expecting, but I think most people that have followed my channel, at least for the last year, let alone our conversations, they could guess all 4 of these probably in a heartbeat. But I had somebody last week think that my number 4 was going to be my number 1. So that might be a little shocking. And my number 4 that I want to share with everybody, and I already had 3 picks set up for each director. That's how ridiculous I am. My number 4 is Tarantino. And the first one that I think is mandatory is Inglourious Bastards. And we have talked about this film to death. I think that this is something that started his idea of revisionist history, obviously, but the way that this is filmed, it brings tension to his films that some of them were sort of lacking, because it is long-lasting tension rather than just momentary tension. Like in Kill Bill, there's obviously a longer storyline, but it really is climax after climax after climax. That sounded dirty, but with Inglourious Bastards, it's just this ongoing, agonizing. Something is going to happen, and it is something that really hit me hard the first time I saw it in theaters, and one that I've seen a handful of times. And I think that this is one of those films that sort of gets better with rewatch. And one of the reasons Tarantino is my number 4 is because a lot of his films, I don't rewatch them that often. I think that my top 3 I rewatch more than his, and I don't think that they get worse necessarily, but I don't appreciate them quite as much as that first time watch. When I watch a Tarantino film, it's got a lot of luster that first time. And that leads into my second mandatory pick. I think the one that a lot of people used to talk about quite often as one of the most influential films, and hardly ever gets talked about anymore, which is a little weird, is Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction set the entire story for the late 90s and the early 2000s. It brought along a completely different style of film. And the big thing is this has literally maybe the best soundtrack of all time. The only other one that I might say beats it is from my number 3 director, one of their films. I think that this movie is a masterpiece, and I don't know what that look was about. Obviously, this is a very important film, but genuinely, because of his output over the last decade, this seems to just get cast aside. I think that this is something that is super important, and I was going to pull out Jackie Brown, like Lissa said. Jackie Brown's not talked about enough when it comes to his films, and I fully agree. I think the issue with Jackie Brown is somehow it is, in terms of the rest of the Tarantino filmography, it's kind of like a too small film. People would rather talk about the epics, I guess, for a better word that doesn't exist. So they'd rather talk about those. But for me, and this last one sort of is an epic, the one that I think is his best film is his latest film. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my favorite from him. At the moment, that could easily change. And if he truly does go out on his next film, which he has, hinted that he might, I hope he doesn't. But if it continues rising in quality, I can't wait to see what'll beat this, because I think that the way this was acted and directed is astonishing. I think that there are a couple things that I would maybe have changed about this film, but that's just because I'm picky, probably. I think that this is viewed as a great film, but I think a lot of the things that make it great got overshadowed. A lot of people talked about DiCaprio, but I think Brad Pitt may be the best part of this film. This movie's just amazing.
100%. I've seen that movie 3 times in the last month because it's playing on, I think, Paramount. My dad's got Paramount Network at the restaurant, so it's just on. And he's like, "Hey, look, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Watch it. I love this part." And it's just
Dave says, "I just picked up Inglourious Bastards at a flea market a couple weeks back." And then he asks, "What do you think is Tarantino's best film versus his most well-known film?"
Well, I would think his most well-known is probably Kill Bill.
I would either say Kill Bill or Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction has a really lasting...
probably Pulp Fiction. Like, my mom's generation knows about that movie. You know what I mean? My parent, so I would say probably Pulp Fiction. Honestly, I don't think there's a bad movie from Tarantino.
No, not at all.
I think his movies are cinema experiences. I think they're best seen in cinema. We drove to go see Hateful Eight in the super wide format that they were touting. Gorgeous, gorgeous movie. I think Hateful Eight just shows you how much of a good writer he truly is, because every other movie of his is the dialogue, but there's always a set piece to accompany that dialogue. But Hateful Eight is literally, you're just in the haberdashery. You're just stuck in a room, and you're locked in. And I really like the extended cut that's on Netflix. It's broken up into 4 episodes. I think that's brilliant. I was just talking to Ryan about this today, actually. I watched Django Unchained recently. And that movie, I wish it would have came out this year. I I guarantee you, conservative talking heads would have been fucking so mad about that. I could already hear Ben Shapiro in my head being like, actually, Jamie Lee, well, not Jamie Lee Curtis, Jamie Foxx. I'm fried. But yeah, I think Jingo Unchained is just fucking awesome. And I agree with Foo. Foo says it gets better and better with each watch. Yes, it's so entertaining. I was playing League of Legends on my phone today. I was playing it. I was like, I like the way you die, boy. And guys, I was killing people. So, yeah, that's so good.
The opening of that, when I saw it in theaters, I 8 minutes into the movie, I leaned over to the person I was with and I was like, this is going to be incredible. You can just already tell.
Oh, and then hearing Leonardo DiCaprio say the N-word, one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. And then have you heard the behind the scenes footage of that? Like,
no.
have you seen Jamie Foxx talk about what Quentin said to him? I guess he showed up. I guess Jamie Foxx showed up late with a Starbucks coffee, and he's like, Quentin Tarantino grabbed him and put him. And he's like, "You're a slave. Okay, start acting like one." I was just like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, nobody writes dialogue like Quentin Tarantino. There's been hundreds of copycats, but they don't. There's just something.
And that shows in his written scripts too. Like True Romance has great dialogue. The work that he did, even on who brought it up? Somebody just brought it up. Eric brought up 4 Rooms. It has really decent dialogue. His work on
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn. That's what I was about to say.
What an absolute Chad to be like. I'm gonna write this movie where Salma Hayek puts her foot in a character's mouth, and that character is gonna be. What a Chad.
Stendhal says, I didn't realize Jackie Brown was considered underrated. I thought most considered that as one of his best. I think that is true on film Twitter, but for the most part, this was overlooked for years and years.
Yeah, even now.
It has really been,
now.
And the film Twitter aspect has only recently been a thing. It was very, never talked about until, 2017.
Which is, he did that after Pulp Fiction, right? I think Jackie Brown was 96, Pulp Fiction was 94.
No, Pulp Fiction is definitely earlier than 96.
No, I said Pulp Fiction is 94.
Oh, got it. Let me see.
Jackie
Brown. Jackie Brown. 97. 97. That's crazy. It doesn't feel like a 97 movie. It feels like a 91 movie.
See, the thing about Jackie Brown that I really like is that that's a movie after Pulp Fiction, right?
Yep.
Any other director?
Was there another one in between? No, he worked on 4 Rooms in between, and that's it.
So you have this huge hit, Pulp Fiction. Wins the Palme d'Or or whatever the hell that French bullshit is, and Palme d'Or. Titan won, right? Titan won that last year. Yeah, awesome. But you have this massive hit. It's a box office hit. You revitalize the career of who's that Scientologist from Greece? What's his name?
Why
am I thinking?
John Travolta.
John Travolta, that Scientologist, that closeted gay man, John Travolta. You have a smash hit that revitalizes his career. Studios were probably frothing at the mouth to just give him money, like go do something huge, do something big, and he was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna adapt the novel. It's gonna be a really just slow burn. Nothing too crazy happens in it. Just do a passion project, and it's fucking Jackie Brown. It's so good. And then he follows
one of my favorite blaxploitation actors.
Pam Grier just fucking kills it, and then immediately follows that up with Kill Bill, which there was a huge gap, right? Between
it is 6 years between Jackie Brown and Kill Bill.
6 years. He makes fucking Kill Bill. That is wild. What was he doing in those 6 years?
Writing.
Coke?
And Coke, for sure.
Yeah.
Sarda says his cast choice doing the dialogue has a lot to do with his success, and that's absolutely true. He's great at casting. John says, I have a Pam Grier autographed Jackie Brown one sheet. Met her here in Kansas City. That's awesome.
Is she still alive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I say, oh, yeah, very confidently, and then doubting myself. I believe she is.
just what a good choice for number 4.
We spent a lot of time talking about him. We want to go into your number 3.
Number 3 is this a little known director called Akira Kurosawa. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's some Japanese indie filmmaker. I love Akira Kurosawa. He has made my favorite movie of all time. Obviously, Seven Samurai. Wait, there you go, Seven Samurai. Nothing that my dumbass can say hasn't already been said about the brilliance of Akira Kurosawa. I just adore him. I find his movies endlessly rewatchable, but I have to be in the right mind frame because they are long movies. Like Seven Samurai, I love it, but I can't just be like, oh, it's Monday afternoon. Let's waste the day watching Seven Samurai. You know what I mean? But I do think things like Throne of Blood is the best adaptation of Macbeth that we've had on screen. Just the fact that he got Toshiro Mifune to stand there while they shot real arrows at him is just brilliant. It's just beautifully shot. Ron is one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen in my life. And just to show his creative, like how he works, he had painted every frame of Ron before filming. And when he filmed it, and you compare like side by side, like of the painting of the scene, it's just exactly what he was envisioning. Kagemusha, I think, is very underrated in his lineup. I think that movie wouldn't have gotten made without George Lucas or Coppola. Steven Spielberg also produced a couple of his later films after Ron.
Little hint, that's going to be Flips number 2.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg number 2 and Tommy Lee Jones number 1.
As director.
Hey, The Homesman is a good movie.
Has
I
he
think Tommy Lee Jones is
3 though?
He's directed 3 movies. Yeah, directed 3 movies. I mean, but without Akira Kurosawa, we wouldn't have had Star Wars. Like The Hidden Fortress was a direct influence to George Lucas. And as someone who's so revered now, it's weird to go back and see that he couldn't get funding for some of his movies. Just an incredible director. Even his early stuff. Letterboxd has a couple of his movies. Letterboxd has the date wrong on a lot of his movies, actually. A lot of his early stuff. It will say like 52 when really it was like 43. Very bizarre.
Is that reflecting U.S. release dates and they came out here later?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe. But I just think that's kind of weird because I was like, did this really come out before? There's a movie called I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name, but it's listed as the same year as Seven Samurai. It's like, there's no way. There's no way that came out the same year as Seven Samurai. I mean, just heavily influential to American cinema. I read that once he rejected a set because the nails they used to build it were the wrong period. I've heard that too. And you know what? That's the little details that make a great director autistic. You thought I was going to say auteur. See? No, but like those little. So here's the thing: is that like when you see a really truly epic, great film, it's little details like that would have never have washed over you. You know what I mean? Like that, like would have never have hit you. They just washed over you. But the people that do know and they see that, it's just going to elevate the film to even higher. I would say the 3 besides Seven Samurai, I would say his 3 best movies are Kagemusha, Ron, and I would say probably High and Low. You know, he made one of the best police procedurals ever. On top of doing some great period pieces and samurai movies, just man, and then Jimbo and Sanjuro, like he's so good, dude. He's so good. You watch Jimbo and tell me that that's not a fun movie. Again, he's been criticized. What I was trying to say before Stardust rudely interrupted with this great comment. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Stardust. I love you. Is that he was criticized a lot by his peers during the time he was alive, saying that he was trying to cater towards a Western audience, which I find very interesting because he would go to the theater as a kid and see John Ford movies, especially movies like Stagecoach and stuff, and was directly influenced by John Ford Westerns. And then he makes Seven Samurai, which influences The Magnificent Seven, makes Yojimbo, which influences Sergio Leone, and it's just this weird, just back and forth of just ebb and flow of just Western samurai movie, just back and forth, back and forth. He's a brilliant director.
The Shakespeare influences.
Oh, and then the Shakespeare stuff too. He wrote a bunch of scripts that got made into movies after his death. He made a documentary that I have on DVD from Samurai DVD about horses. He made a made-for-TV documentary about a certain breed of horses. I could give two fucks less about horses, but I was watching that thing just being like, huh, that is fascinating. I should probably learn more about these horses. I was actually invested. So yeah, he is incredible. He's written a couple scripts of movies that I've seen, like Valley of the Vagabonds. Me and Fu will be discussing Yojimbo specifically and Sanjuro on Tuesday. I wonder if Kurosawa has a slipcover. Oh, if Kurosawa was a slipcover corrector, I think he would. Probably think that stuff was stupid, and he would
he would paint his own slipcovers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sardis wants to know what the name of that doc is.
I don't know what the name of the doc is off the top of my head. Just Google Kurosawa horse doc. It's the only thing that'll pop up. You didn't like his film Dreams? Oh, I love Dreams, but I am a huge samurai movie fan, so I personally, for my personal taste, have to recommend the samurai. Throne of Blood, Redbeard's even. What's your favorite Kurosawa?
Hold on, I'm looking this up. When I look up Kurosawa horse documentary, it comes up with Horse 1941, directed by somebody else. Oh wait, is it Song of the Horse from? Yeah, Song of the Horse from 1971 is a documentary film that Akira Kurosawa directed for Nippon Television. Its subject is thoroughbred racehorses. Song of the Horse was Kurosawa's only documentary film, as well as his only work for television.
See, there you
go. I also wanted to point out the autism joke was only allowed to be made because I have two autistic children, and I believe autistic. Moving on.
I am. So.
We're on number 3, right?
Yeah, we're on number 3. Top 3.
Jeez. We've already been on for an hour. This is gonna be like a 3-hour show tonight. So my number 3 is one that we've talked about a lot in this last year, and anybody could probably guess that this was gonna be top 3 for me. But my number 3 is the Coen brothers. I have connected with most of their films. I think that they clearly have a couple misses.
Which ones do you think are missed? That's what I'm interested in here.
Let me pull up the actual list so I can comment specifically. And okay, so of the ones they have directed, I would say I need to see Intolerable Cruelty again. I don't remember loving it. I think The Lady Killers is an awful film. I need to see A Serious Man again. That one never hit me for some reason. And I don't think I've seen Hail Caesar.
I really like Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I can't remember Hail Caesar, so I'm going to assume I've not seen it. But yeah, The Lady Killers, I just remember just thinking it was such a slog to get through. My 3 that I think people need to watch, though, are easily... Man, maybe I shouldn't say that. Let me look through their list again.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
No Country for Old Men, Miller's Crossing, and what's that movie on Criterion that Bloodstone?
You got 2 out of 3. So
ooh, okay.
I think that for me, a lot of their films are focused on crime. obviously, in one way or another. And I see like an unofficial crime trilogy from them. And I think in order, people should watch Blood Simple. I think that this movie, as a film that is, God, is this their first?
It's their first
feature?
movie.
It's their first feature, yeah.
They went to like local hardware stores and stuff, businesses, to get funding for them.
So this feels semi-small because of that, but this movie is so damn well made that it is absolute must-watch viewing. Obviously, the acting in here is something that sets it apart completely. The script is incredible. The score is really good. And the biggest thing is that the story is compelling, and they wrote a lot of their own stuff. But Blood Simple set what was to come from them. And then the next one that is part of their unofficial crime trilogy for me is Fargo. I think that this movie is amazing, fantastic, and I feel like it is what they could do with an idea like Blood Simple when they had a little more money. I think that they got some names in it that were able to be attached to. They had a little more witty writing in Fargo, and obviously there's a little more comedy peppered in rather than Blood Simple, but overall the story is just captivating. It's something that you want to see through to the end. It's something that you want to see some justice brought in this story, and it happens in some pretty funny ways at the end. But obviously, in my opinion, their masterpiece is No Country for Old Men. I think that it is an infinitely rewatchable film. I think that it is a movie that brings new ideas to a villain that we had never seen like that before. I think that Josh Brolin is a captivating protagonist in that film. Doesn't get talked about enough, obviously, because Anton Chigurh is this huge character that just takes over everything, which is great, and believe me, he's fantastic. But Josh Brolin is really who you're behind for the entire time. And then, speaking of Tommy Lee Jones, he fits in perfectly in that movie. But it is such a great, mostly believable type of film, and that's the scary part, is that everything happens with logic. I mean, the hotel scene where Anton Chigurh is using like the light to find Josh Brolin, it is so tense, but on top of that, you can see why he made every single decision, and it shows him being so much more menacing because of that. And I don't know, it is just amazing. I think that it is, if they are truly done directing together, that's really sad. I hope that they return to
Is there a reason why?
No, I think they just wanted to do different things, as far as I'm aware. I don't think there was like infighting or anything like that.
I mean, I would hope not, because they are, I think, one of our generation's greatest directors.
I agree. I did want to throw out a couple others from their filmography. I think The Big Lebowski is semi-overrated.
I always forget The Big Lebowski is them. I'm actually an ordained minister in Judaism. So, for real, I can legally marry people in the state of Illinois. So,
Flip abides. I think that it is a good film, but the fan base has kind of ruined The Big Lebowski.
No, you don't. You do that.
I mean, have you paid attention to the way everybody's like insufferably quoting it everywhere? And
no,
okay.
That's why it's still great to me.
Anyways, I will say True Grit is one of the best modern Westerns of all time.
Yeah.
I think that it is an immense improvement over the original. I think that it gave us Haley Steinfeld, and she was incredible in it. The other one that I really wanted to point out around that time that doesn't get enough love is Burn After Reading. I think that it's fantastic and hilarious. Brad Pitt is stupendous in it and ridiculous. The other one that I really can't let go, because I did mention the soundtrack for one of my number 3 was maybe better than Pulp Fiction. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou has maybe the best soundtrack of all time, and George Clooney's performance in that is top-notch.
Nerd says he still needs a sea trooper.
Knowing Nerd, I think you're really going to love it. And, man, see, and that's the thing. I can just rave about them all night. Foo says Inside Llewyn Davis is my favorite.
Says Barton Fink.
It's fantastic. Inside Llewyn Davis with Oscar Isaac and Justin Timberlake, they both are amazing in it. Barton Fink is great if you love, like, the essence of Hollywood, because it's about screenwriters. It is something that you go into Barton Fink and it makes you never want to be associated with Hollywood, but it's so well done. It is great. Sendall says, Ryan, did you like Noah Hawley's Fargo series? They're so well done, especially as standalone seasons. I think that's kind of the only way to view them as standalone seasons. And yes, I mean, they, for the most part, they're all above average, but some are clearly much better than others.
Jenny from Gomorrah plays a character named Gaetano, who was my great uncle, Gaetano Badalamenti, the head of
Gesundheit.
Yes.
So yes,
I want to go back and talk about No Country for a second. That movie is elevated by the minor performances from minor characters in that movie. The gas station attendant, the way he handles that whole scene is just incredible. And there's a little thing in this movie that I really like, is that when he says, "Oh, you ain't got much rain up in, was it Dallas or something?" he says, and Anton just immediately looks at him like, "What the fuck are you like? Like, you could potentially point cops towards me by having that information." It scares the shit out of him. And then the lady at the trailer park, she's like, "I can't do that, sir," and he just looks at her like, "I kind of respect you." In the way that Josh Brolin's wife breaks him by just straight up refusing to play, shows that his whole shtick is just is bullshit, you know. So, just an incredible movie all around. I wish I would have saw that theater. So, incredible movie.
I also wanted to point out, since we're talking about that again, the scene in the police station at the beginning with all of the rubber streaks from his shoes on the ground after he killed that cop is just mind-blowingly great. It is filmed so well from up above, and yeah, stupendous. Love that movie.
Also, I love how Josh Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones, they like never meet, but their stories are so interwoven.
Yep.
Brilliant filmmaking. It really is. That's what is the source material is a Cormac McCarthy book.
Yep.
I think the only people who could adapt Blood Meridian are probably the Coen, but that'll probably never happen.
Wow. And then I love somebody, who was it that mentioned it? Hilton says Crime Wave, an unofficial part of the Crime Trilogy, because the Coens wrote Crime Wave and Sam Raimi directed it.
Huh. Did not. We're going down under with my next pick.
I wish you'd give an Australian director now. Brian Smith.
My favorite director.
Number 2.
Mel Gibson.
Oh.
Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is a religious man who wants to make exploitation films. And does, but disguises them as religious cinema. So, Passion of the Christ is just like Hostel, but even more brutal. I think it's a beautiful movie, though. I think Apocalypto is a fucking phenomenal movie. I think Hacksaw Ridge is a good movie. He's just a great director. I really enjoy Mel Gibson.
Is that your number 2 for real?
No, it's Hideo Gosha. Are you kidding me?
That was the perfect setup.
No, Hideo Gosha is a director that I've always respected, but recently I started rewatching his movies, and they have just like clicked with me. Like, have you ever done that with someone? Like, you watched their movies, years ago, and you liked them, but then you rewatch them, and you're like, holy shit.
Yes.
So I'm rewatching Hideo Gosha stuff. And I started off with 3 Outlaw Samurai, which I do think is probably his weakest movie. It's his first movie, and I think as a first movie, it's a big triumph. But I'm still blown away why Criterion chose that movie over anything else he directed. He's done Violent Streets, which is getting released from Film Movement later this year. He's done Samurai Cop, which is also 1 and 2, which is getting released from Film Movement this year. But then I think his 2 masterpieces are, again, these are movies that are 2.5 hours long. Yeah, this is 140 minutes. This is Hitokiri, also known as Tenshu, and it's a pretty historically accurate. Like from what I've researched about this movie, it's a very historically accurate uh, movie. It's got Shintaro Katsu in a great role. It's also got Tatsuya Nakadai, two great leads. The only person missing is like Toshiro Mifune in this movie. Uh, Highly recommend you track down Tenshu. But the main movie, the movie that I think is a masterpiece, is I think there's three great samurai movies, and I can't. Any day of the week, you ask me which one's better, and I can't nail it. Wait, is this hat too much?
I
Um,
like it.
um, so any day of the week, there's three samurai movies, and I think they are all equally perfect. I think they are all equally tied. That's um, Harakiri by Kobayashi, Seven Samurai by Kurosawa, and Goyoken by Hideo. How do you pronounce his fucking name? Hideo or Hideo Gosha? I say Hideo, but I've heard people say Hideo or Hideo.
Right.
But Goyoken is, I think, an underrated and underappreciated piece of cinema. It was set up to be originally supposed to be a Yojimbo sequel, but Mifune had some scheduling conflicts, so they replaced with Tetsuya Nakadai. He came in and he steals every scene. He has, which is fine, which is funny to tie it back to Harakiri. Tetsuya Nakadai in that movie. I can't think of the actor's name, but the person he faces at the end is also the last person he faces at the end of Goyoken as well. I think it's a better final showdown. I think the tension adding like up to that final showdown is just much more palpable. And it's a movie that I think is U.S. release only stuck on a really crappy DVD from Tokyo Shop, which is Media Blast. It's a brilliant movie. If you guys have not seen it, it's incredible. It's long, but it's got the same feeling of a spaghetti western. And that's probably because at the time, Gosha was really into spaghetti western. Him and Katsu were the two that went and saw The Great Silence, and they were like, "We need to buy the rights to this and make it into a Japanese movie." And then fucking Clint Eastwood came in, bought the rights, made Joe Kidd with it, but they turned it into The Mute Samurai, which is, I've talked about this, one of my favorite pieces of entertainment ever. Gosha was like a producer on the entire series, and he's directed, I think, 2 episodes of this, and they're brilliant. Gosha also did a bunch of other episodes of television, but I think as time goes on, and I feel like the next big wave is going to be, there's going to be another wave of Japanese cinema releases. I feel like it's coming, and I feel like Gosha is the one that's probably going to get his entire catalog because it's all so good. And I enjoy his movies more than Kurosawa. I talked with Eric about this 2-3 weeks ago, and he agrees with me. So
I can see those fitting in well with the Arrow.
oh man, I would love Arrow doing like a special edition with a slipcover for Goyoken. That would be incredible. That movie deserves it. It really does. It really, really does. Have you seen any Hideo Gosha?
No. Not a one.
What a
nerd. What a nerd.
So for you,
My
number one,
number two.
Oh, number two.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's your number two?
You did number two. This is my number two.
Number
you
two.
You can guess.
Sam Raimi.
No.
Why'd you laugh like that?
That's an odd choice. I love, well, I think Evil Dead is very good. I've actually I'm not like, I don't think it's bad, but I've lessened my fandom of Evil Dead over time. My number two is not from in fact, I don't even know that he's made an outright horror movie. My number two is Mr. David Fincher. And one that I think is very important is The Social Network. This movie, it hit me in just the right time. This came out in the age where I was able to really understand the corruption behind the scenes of a lot of things. And obviously, this came out, as tech was getting bigger, and I was interested in a lot of this. I was making, career decisions at that time where I was considering tech and stuff that maybe could have sent me down the wrong path into some of my decisions. I'm glad I never got into coding. I will say that. I think that The Social Network has some of the best dialogue written of all time. I think that the acting in this, including the cannibal, is just surprisingly well done for a movie about social. For
the cannibal.
For a movie about a social network and the behind the scenes of it, starring like the example of what people use as an actor with no charisma. Jesse Eisenberg is incredible in this, and that's because he's playing somebody that has no charisma, and he really takes each scene and makes it something that it shouldn't be. But on top of that, Andrew Garfield is fucking amazing in this. Even Justin Timberlake's short little cameo that he plays for a little while is perfect. The story behind this is obviously embellished a little bit, but it is so damn well done that I never would see myself wanting to rewatch a film like this, but it commands it every time it's on. It is captivating and beautiful, and just Fincher is amazing.
Zodiac's his favorite, is my best movie.
Second one is one that I would say is probably his most underrated film nowadays, and I think that's because it's one of his first films. It's fairly,
Alien
old nowadays. I think that The Game is highly underrated. This movie has like 19 twists in it, and each one is captivating and enticing and draws you into something that you are not expecting. This movie literally has like 4 endings in the last 15 minutes, and usually I would find that annoying, but with this movie, it makes perfect sense. I think that the casting choices for this are top notch, and beyond that, the directing is just amazing. It is a really easy script that you could have gotten lost making this type of plot work, and yet as you're watching this, it can be a little convoluted for a watcher, but on rewatches, it rewards you on that. So it all makes sense. And it really would take a functional, a really on top of it director to handle everything they threw at this, because it is a story that is built around fooling your viewer, and it works in so many different ways. Michael Douglas, I personally think that he will never and has never topped the performance in this. It is fantastic. He is just ridiculously good in this. And as alluded to, because you had to steal it, obviously his best film is Zodiac. I think that this movie is a modern masterpiece. I think that it is legitimately frightening for certain scenes. Everybody talks about the lake scene, obviously, but I think that this is, looking back nowadays, one of the most stacked casts that you can have in a film like this ever. I think that this got performances out of Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo that we probably would not have expected. But now that everybody in this film is basically a Marvel character and that's it, even Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in this. The writing in this is incredible. It is taken from a real story. What's the confused look?
I'd just say even Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing. Like, he's not amazing in everything he does.
Because if you look at his filmography up to this point, other than Brokeback Mountain, he was not really viewed as like a top-notch actor.
Okay.
This is still like one of his first, like I would even say this might be his breakout movie in terms of other than
prior to
Brokeback
Nightcrawler?
Mountain. Oh, much prior, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, this is, God, what year did this come out? 07? Yeah, 07. Nightcrawler came out in like 14.
Oh, wow.
Let me see. Nightcrawler came out
He's so hot.
Yeah, 14.
He's so hot.
So Zodiac obviously is about the Zodiac Killer, and on top of all of those things that make this just a stupendous film, it is about the type of thing that I like to watch, and it is it is at heart a mystery thriller, and it's something that unfortunately you don't get to see the ending. There's no like payoff because they don't know who it was, but that is okay for a film like this. It is done in a way that you don't need that, because the payoff, like, it's kind of cliche to say that the best part is the friends we made along the way, but genuinely on this, the character studies, the relationships, the way that you see these people developing, this movie is a masterpiece, top to bottom.
I agree. I agree fully. I have a guess what your number one is.
That's great. Anything else you want to say about Fincher?
He's incredible. I think Alien 3 is a masterpiece. I genuinely like Alien 3. I don't think it's as bad as people. I'm not kidding.
I will throw out there, Gone Girl is a damn good movie too. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, fantastic.
Favorite Christmas movie memory ever is taking my cousins to go see Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. They were like, "Why?" That one scene in particular, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where she puts that dildo up his ass and then kicks it into him because he raped her. Oh, Taylor's just looking at me like, "What the fuck are you talking?" And in this movie, this big fat guy rapes her, and she takes a steel dildo and shoves it in his ass.
I will say Seven, obviously, is something that probably should have been brought up.
That
Seven,
is Fincher. I keep forgetting that's Fincher.
Seven is amazing. I will say his most overrated movie is clearly Fight Club. It is a film bro movie through and through. No, Mank is not even. No, but that's the thing. Mank gets shit on by people that don't like it. Fight Club is like gloriously worshipped by people constantly. I believe 100% that it's
the same crowd that watches The Joker and they miss them. They're like,
yeah,
like people that watch The Clockwork Orange and they're like, wow, that guy's cool. It's
Stendhal says Zodiac and Gone Girl. Zodiac? What was that? Zodiac and Gone Girl were excellent crime pieces, as well as Mindhunter should have been canceled. Mindhunter is literally one of my favorite TV shows of all time, so completely agree.
Yeah,
and Jonathan Groff has been saying recently there's still a chance that it could come back. So there's
they left it off like they were getting ready to do BTK.
Yeah,
like, and I think that's probably one of my favorite serial killers.
Well, they alluded to him for many episodes.
Yeah.
They never said they were getting ready to do him. And if you
look at, show him?
They showed him doing things in multiple episodes. But the way that the timeline works, nobody knew who the BTK killer was until decades later. So the timeline never would have worked out the way that we would have liked to have seen.
Do you know how BTK got caught?
I did. I don't remember it offhand.
He had that ego. He wanted people to know who he was. So a newspaper posted an article, BTK long and forgotten. And he wrote, it was like, "No, I'm still here." And the cops were like, "Can you prove it?" And he writes to him, can you track and trace a floppy disk? And they were like, "No." So he sent in a floppy disk from the computer he used at his church. And it had his name on it. That guy's a real knucklehead. He did some really knucklehead things. Do you know what BTK stands for?
Find, Torture, Kill.
Yeah, what the... Come on, have a more original name.
Well, it's not like he named himself.
Who's your favorite serial? I think he did. I think he wrote in a letter, "Find, Torture, Kill."
He included that phrase in a letter, but I don't think he named himself the BTK killer.
Who's your favorite serial?
I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, Gacy is an easy go-to. I'm also a big fan of Ed Gein, or Gein, however you say it.
Yeah. We should do a whole episode on best serial killer.
Best serial killer movies? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm all about that life.
Let's do it. I listen to a lot of true crime.
All right. So. I'll add it to the list. Go ahead with your number one, though.
Number one.
Or wait, is there anything you wanted to say about Fincher before?
Fincher is, it's weird. Like I see everything he does. In my mind, he's still new. for some reason, even though he's been around since before my
Long
wife was
time.
born. So even before I was born, Alien 3 was what, like 89?
Somewhere around there.
So I do think Fight Club is a masterpiece. I disagree with you strongly. I think that ending with the skyscrapers crumbling down, the Pixies playing, is one of the best cinematic scenes ever. It's got Bob's bitch tits. Come on, how can you go wrong?
Which I alluded to earlier, by the way.
Oh, Fusa, serial killer movies are genuinely my favorite.
Interesting.
Maybe we should
Which
have him on
means
an episode.
who is going to be on an episode, and so we
Boo,
can
you're
do
gonna be on.
favorite
You better get
episode.
your big ginger beautiful self on. We're gonna talk about some serial killer movies. My number one, coming at no surprise from anyone. Ryan, can you guess?
I could, but I wanted to throw out real quick. This might be a little shocking. Alien 3 is 92.
So the year I was born. That's a 30-year-old movie. Okay. Holy shit, that feels like an 88, 89 movie.
It does, and that's not really a great thing.
But yeah, can you guess what my favorite director is?
Can, but I also the hard part here is I don't remember everybody that was 10 through 2. So I feel
Okay.
like one of the ones I would guess would be like number 8, and I just can't remember it now.
It's Eli Roth.
So who is it?
It's Kinji Mizumi.
Eli Roth is not
think...
from Asia, so I knew it wasn't right.
What is he?
That's a great question.
Is he like Argentinian or something? I saw Alien when it came out in theater.
The original Alien, nice. That's awesome.
That's cool.
Eli Roth was born in Massachusetts. His family is Jewish.
Everything. Explains everything. That's why he was the bear Jew in Inglourious Bastard. I always find it interesting because I can't stand him as a person. He seems like a fucking prick.
I don't get that at all. He comes across to me as like one of the nicest people in the world.
Really?
If you pay attention to his stuff, he's just really, really passionate about horror. But he's super nice. He donates money to things. He produces things. He supports creators. He's great.
Really? Okay, well, that's good. But my favorite director is Kinji Mizumi. I think by no surprise. I think Kinji Mizumi is a auteur director who was just born in the decade of what's the term that people use for Miike? I can't think of the exact term. Like where the director just goes from project to project, like work for hire, pretty much. Because if you go to Kinji Mizumi's letterbox, and you look, every one of his top movies are all franchise. He very rarely ever did something that he truly was passionate. And every one of his movies, in those franchises, are the best movies. The Lone Wolf and Cub films, I think number 2, Baby Cart River Styx. I've talked about this a lot, and it's probably done to death at this point. But it is genuinely like a incredible piece of filmmaking. It is just shockingly good, and it is an exploitation film that is done by a director who, at any other part in time, could have been an art house director. He could have been a massive he could have been a Kurosawa, in my opinion. He is that good. Just the way he's able to frame shots and just the way he directs is just impeccable. But you look at any one of his any one of the series that he's touched. Lone Wolf and Cub, 4 of the 6 movies of that are the best. The Sleepy Eyes of Death series, he's number I think he directed 2 and 12. 2 and 12, I think. 2 is the best in my opinion. Zatoichi. You look at the Zatoichi series, he does 1, and he does I think 4 total of the Zatoichi movies, and each of them get progressively better. And his movies in that series are undoubtedly the best. I think Fufer thought he watched the first Zatoichi movie and he said that it's better than Seven Samurai, which I disagree with, but it's a incredible film. Even his earlier stuff, like the Sword of Satan trilogy, is just incredible. Daimajin, he directed, I think, the last movie in that series. He just is such a good director. He only got to do, I think, 1 movie that he was truly truly passionate. If you look at his, letterbox, I think he has like 30 or 40 movies that he directed, but he only has one movie that he wrote, and that's The Last Samurai, which is the movie he made right before he died. And it's a 2.5 hour long epic, and it makes you wish he lived to do something even better. I find his films just so rewatchable. One, they are rather short. Some of his movies, I watched one the other day that was an hour and 15, or no, sorry, it was an hour and 18. Just great. He's just a great fucking filmmaker.
What is the story behind a Shogun Assassin showing that it wasn't released till 1980 when he died 5 years prior?
What do you mean?
IMDb shows that Shogun Assassin released in 1980, but he died in September of 75.
Shogun Assassin was the American version where they took it and dubbed it. So they took 15 minutes of the first movie, like 15-ish movies, 15-ish minutes of the first movie, and then 90% of the second movie, and like did a hodgepodge. So he gets a directing credit for that because he technically directed.
Right.
He did all the work. America was just like, we're gonna take that and make it ours.
Imperialism
he died super young. Yeah. But if you look at his career, he is like the guy that starts franchises. I mean, two of the biggest franchises in Japanese cinema history, Zatoichi and Lone Wolf and Cub, he directed countless episodes of television. He does, I think, 3 episodes of The Mute Samurai, and you can tell which ones are his because the violence is turned up a little bit more. The sword play is a little bit tighter. And he was doing all these movies back to back. They did the first 4 Lone Wolf and Cub movies in the first 2 years. No, in the first year. Yeah, I think it was the first year they did 4. So this guy was literally just leaving the project, going to the next, leaving this one, going to the next. And I think it's a director that we'll never have a box set of because most of his works are franchises. But
and it's spread out everywhere.
But yeah, definitely go watch his Zatoichi films. Go watch Lone Wolf and Cub. And if you can track down a version online somewhere, the Last Samurai, his version, not the Tom Cruise movie, they have nothing in common. Just it is incredible. So I know that's kind of a flip, obvious pick, but he really is an auteur director who just was stuck in a franchise director's body. So,
did you want to guess my number one? You hinted that you wanted to.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh, was that a real guess?
Yeah, PTA.
I've never brought up PTA on the show even once.
I think we've talked about There Will Be Blood.
Yes, and I do think it's a great film, but PTA is not even in like my top 20.
Did you see Licorice Pizza?
No, not yet.
Then why the fuck did I think that about you?
I have a list of all of my honorable mentions and everything. PTA is not even written down.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've got nothing against him. He's not been one that I'm like, yeah, PTA. I don't know why.
Your number one's got to be. See, if you didn't play Richard Linklater so early, I would have said that was number.
Weird. You're gonna kick yourself as soon as I say this name.
What's the first letter?
It'll give it away.
Okay.
John Carpenter.
God damn it.
My number one favorite director of all time is John Carpenter. I think that he is the one that I go to watch the most from. I think Assault on Precinct 13 might be his most underrated film nowadays, in terms of things that are not horror. And then in terms of things that are semi-horror, I think In the Mouth of Madness is clearly his most underrated film. This movie is magnificent and maybe the closest thing to his best movie that is not The Thing. And Flip is completely off the stream now, but oh well, I will keep going. The Thing obviously is known as his best movie, and I for the most part agree. I think that it's great. I'm sorry you had to leave. In the Mouth of Madness is truly maddening. It is great. I showed Assault on Precinct 13. That one is shocking. It's an exploitation movie through and through, and it's shot like a Western. Fantastic. And then the other one that really doesn't get enough love nowadays, nobody talks about Christine. I think people need to watch Christine. He is absolutely fantastic behind the camera in that one. The effects in Christine are still like mind blowing. The way that they have a car unfolding outward, it should not be able to exist in that time with all practical effects, and it does. It's just stupendous. He has done so many that I love, and if you notice, none of the ones that I shared tonight are the action comedy films. Obviously everybody loves Escape from New York. I'm not going to argue with that. Everybody loves Big Trouble in Little China. Again, not going to argue.
My favorite.
But they're not my go-tos. They're not the ones that I pop in the most. I think that those are not bad by any means. This is my favorite director, but those are bottom tier for me. I would much rather watch even like Prince of Darkness before any of those action movies. I think he is
Ghost
better.
Of Mars?
Honestly, maybe.
I love that movie. Like no joke.
And even Vampires is pretty good. I mean,
yeah,
it's not amazing, but it's still pretty good. It's interesting at least. And then of course we haven't brought up Halloween. We haven't brought up Starman. We haven't brought up even his Elvis film is good. It's so odd how much that he was able to do in so many different genres, and all of them just work for me. I don't know if there's something about his eye and the way that he shoots. It is just great, and it's a part of it could be, you know, because I grew up. Halloween was the very first. I mean, it was the first. It's not really the first horror film I saw, but it's the first one that I started this film journey with. I saw Carrie, I saw Child's Play. Those were both before Halloween, but Halloween is the first one that hit me. And Dave brought up The Fog. The Fog is amazing. I think that is a super underrated horror film as well. He has done They Live is incredible. Obviously, I can literally just name his filmography and gush all night. John Carpenter he just had something special. And to be honest, I really wish that we got one or two more masterpieces out of him. I hope that he comes back and does at least one more, and it's better than what he did in 2010 or whatever it was. But I don't know. I don't think he will at this point. I think that he's done too much with his music, and that's great. I think that that's another huge part of all of this, is that his scores are incredible. I listen to his scores often while reading. I listen to a lot of his work. I got a lot of vinyl of his music.
Renaissance man.
Yeah. That is my number one of all time. Dustin says Prince of Darkness is one of my favorites. I saw that one on the big screen a couple years ago, and I used to like it, but after seeing it on the big screen, oh man, did I love it. That movie is so much fun.
And he did this little movie called The Thing. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, that's obviously a one of the best made films of all time. The practical effects alone we could talk about for the next hour. But
is that Savini who did the practical effects?
No, that is what's his name? Baker, right?
Rick Baker?
I think so. I may have just screwed myself up because I was thinking of something else, but I believe it was. Let me see.
It was under the pressure.
Oh, hello. It was Rob Bottin.
Oh, we're both wrong.
Yep.
That's a good number one. I think John Carpenter. There was a period where like Vampires and Ghost of Mars were just on repeat. I would go to the video store and rent them. For some reason, I loved Ghost of Mars. Thought that movie was fucking awesome. Because it is. But The Thing is a masterpiece. Big Trouble in Little China is a masterpiece. He's so.
Anthony says, "Hell yeah, JC blesses all of us." That's John Carpenter, not Jesus Christ.
On Easter, I tweeted at John Carpenter and said, "Have you risen?" He tours. He's still on tour. Like, he tours and shit. Like, that dude's still working.
I'm really hoping he does at least one more tour. I would love to go see him live.
Dave says, do a concert together.
Yeah, I would love to. Character-wise, who's Carpenter's greatest creation? Oh, man.
Natasha Hendricks, or whatever her name is in Ghost of Mars. Gave 10-year-old Flip a boner.
That is a great question, and it might be Sam Neill in the Mouth of Madness, if it's not Kurt Russell in The Thing. Yeah, that is a great question. Probably Sam Neill for me. I think the way that he loses it in the Mouth of Madness, it makes him just that much more compelling. Not to mention the thing is a movie that's wrapped up in the effects and the story of basically it being a mystery of not being able to trust anyone. But in the Mouth of Madness, the entire film is basically Sam Neill. So he brings a lot more to that, I would think. Well, anything else you want to harp on tonight?
There's no Asians on your list. I'm really disappointed.
Not a single one. And that's because I told myself I had to be racist towards Flip. And here we are.
Am I like an honorary Asian?
On this channel, kind of, yeah. Especially when Eric's not in the chat anymore. And now he's going to pipe in and say, I'm here, I'm just listening.
I'm here, I'm just listening to Bandmate.
I wanted to say that this was a really fun series to do. I love diving deep into stuff like this, and we got some fun things in the works to have on the show. One thing that I would say is it would be nice to get a lot more people on this channel. So yeah, share this around, and if you're ever interested in coming on for some reason, or you have a topic or something like that, send me an email. My email is in the description of at least my videos. I don't know if they're in the description of this one. I don't remember if I put that in there or not. But
or you can text me at 217-898-0772. Shoot me a text. I'll chat with you.
Was that actually?
That's my phone number.
I wanted to share that, speaking of emails, one of our viewers, my friend Sardis, sent me an email today, and he is wanting to offer up to our chat a free digital code. If you've wanted to see the movie Heavy Metal in 4K that just came out, I've got a digital copy for you. You can go to sonypictures.com/MA-redeem. sonypictures.com/MA-redeem. And I'm going to put the code into the chat so you can just copy and paste. Sardis wanted to say thank you again for doing this. This is really cool of you. And
Sardis, you're the man.
This is something that I do on my channel all the time, and I love to give back to the community. So if anybody wants this digital copy of Heavy Metal, I hope you are on sonypictures.com/MA-redeem. M as in Mary, A as in Adam. And this is the code you're going to use.
And if anyone wants to win a digital picture of my pizza,
I'm so glad you said "sa" at the end of that.
Pizza?
Instead of P. Never mind.
Nis?
Yes, that was the joke. Thanks for explaining that.
I haven't even sent you a picture.
No, but you have carried your carried your phone to the bathroom while you were taking a dump.
I did do that. That's awesome.
And John Stump
was that
got
with
to
John?
do that too. Yeah.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite things that I think I've ever done. I mean, I streamed in front of 80 people at Barnes & Noble while taking a shit. So,
if anybody else is on sonypictures.com/MA-redeem, I'm going to put a second code in the chat for Heavy Metal 2000. So there's the second code. Hopefully somebody was able to get that. If you redeem them, let me know so I know that I can delete the email. Again, Sardis, thank you. That is a big deal for a lot of people. Hilton says the Heavy Metal Steelbook is exquisite. I got to go pick mine up tomorrow. What
other show with two very handsome men give out two codes? Come on.
That's a good point.
But speaking of shit, I got to take one, so let's wrap this show up.
We appreciate you guys. We'll be here next Tuesday, 9 o'clock as always, and we'll let you know the theme next Tuesday. Have a good week. Watch something fun. Let us know what you watch in the comments below. Have a good week.